Louis-Sébastien Mercier was a French dramatist and writer. Early life and education. He was born in Paris to a humble family. His father was a skilled artisan who polished swords and metal arms. Mercier nevertheless received a decent education. Literary career. Mercier began his literary career by writing heroic epistles. He early came to the conclusion that Boileau and Racine had ruined the French language and that the true poet wrote in prose. He wrote plays, pamphlets, and novels and published prodigiously. Mercier often recycled passages from one work to another and expanded on essays he had already written. Mercier's keen observations on his surroundings and the journalistic feel of his writing meant that his work remained riveting despite the nature of its composition. There is no better writer to consult. Robert Danton writes, if one wants to get some idea of how Paris looked, sounded, smelled, and felt on the eve of the Revolution, the most important of his miscellaneous works are LAN 2440, Récit en fait jamais, Le Récit sur l'art dramatique, Néologie au vocabulaire, Le Tableau de Paris, Le Nouveau Paris, Histoire de France and Satire contre Racine et Boileau. He decried French tragedy as a caricature of antique and foreign customs in bombastic verse and advocated the drame as understood by Diderot. To the philosophers he was entirely hostile. He denied that modern science had made any real advance. He even carried his conservatism so far as to maintain that the Earth was a circular flat plane around which revolved the sun. Mercier wrote some 60 dramas, among which may be mentioned Jean Henire, La Destruction de la Ligue Geneville, Le Juge, Nathalie and Les Brouettes du Vinaigre, LAN 2440, Mercier's LAN 2440, Récit en fait jamais is a utopian novel set in the year 2440. An extremely popular work. The work describes the adventures of an unnamed man who, after engaging in a heated discussion with a philosopher friend about the injustices of Paris, falls asleep and finds himself in a Paris of the future. Danton writes that, despite its self-proclaimed character of fantasy, LAN 2440 demanded to be read as a serious guidebook to the future. It offered an astonishing new perspective. The future as a fait accompli and the present as a distant past. Who could resist the temptation to participate in such a thought experiment, and once engaged in it, who could fail to see that it exposed the rottenness of the society before his eyes, the Paris of the 18th century? Mercier's hero notes everything that catches his fancy in this futuristic Paris. Public space and the justice system have been reorganized. Its citizens' garb is comfortable and practical. Hospitals are effective and based on science. There are no monks, priests, prostitutes, beggars, dancing masters, pastry chefs, standing armies, slavery, arbitrary arrest, taxes, guilds, foreign trade, coffee, tea, tobacco, and all useless and immoral previously written literature has been destroyed. Mercier's future is not wholly utopian. The extremes of wealth and poverty have been abolished. Nevertheless, the poor still exist. There is little economic development and the population of France has increased only by 50%. Political views. In politics he was a moderate, and as a member of the convention, he voted against the death penalty for Louis XVI. During the Reign of Terror, he was imprisoned, but he was released after the fall of Robespierre, whom he termed a sanguinocrat. Works.